Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Irfan Mukri bin Ismail. The purpose of the video is to present about the poster, which is belt friction. First of all, the introduction. Belt friction in tribology refers to the frictional forces that arise when a belt or flexible band comes into contact with a pulley or similar rotating object. The primary purpose of studying belt friction in the lab is to understand the performance and efficiency of belt-driven system. Belt friction plays a crucial role in the efficiency and performance of belt-driven system. It refers to the resistance encountered by the belt as it slides or rolls over the surface of the pulley. The magnitude of belt friction force depends on several factors, such as the coefficient of friction between the belt and pulley surface, the angle of wrap around the pulley, the applied tension, and the load on the belt. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Farin Farhana binti Abdul Manan, B0921101169. I will proceed with the objective of this experiment. The objective of a belt friction lab experiment are to investigate and understand the principles of friction between a belt and a pulley system. The key goals include to measure and analyze the force of friction between a belt and a pulley or two rotating surfaces under various conditions. The second one is to determine the effect of different variables, and the last one is to determine the relationship between the tension in the belt and the resulting frictional force. Okay, next we move to the one of an application of the belt friction. As we can see right now, it is an application of belt friction. It refers to the resistance to motion experienced between a flexible belt and the surface of a pulley or a set of pulleys. It is an important phenomenon in mechanical power transmission system such as conveyor belts, V-belts, and timing belts. When a belt wraps around a pulley, there is a contact region between the belt and the pulley surface. Frictional forces arise due to the interlocking of the belt and the pulley, resisting the relative motion between them. These frictional forces are essential for transmitting power from driver pulley to the driven pulley. Understanding and analyzing belt friction is essential for designing and operating power transmission system effectively. It enables engineers to predict the behavior of belt drive, select appropriate components, and optimize performance based on the specific requirements of the applications.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Al-Hadi Nasrullah bin Mustafa Kamal. My number matric is B0921100018. In this assessment, I will brief and explain about methodology. In the context of lab session, methodology refers to the systematic approach or set of procedure followed to conduct experiments or investigation and obtain reliable and valid result. It outlines the step and technique used to gather data, perform measurement, analyze samples, and draw conclusion. Prior to commencing the lab session, students are required to follow a standard operating procedure SOP to ensure their safety and maximize the chances of a successful experiment. The SOP outlines specific guidelines that must be followed to prevent potential hazards and ensure the desired outcome of the experiment. First, personal protective equipment, PPE. Students must wear the appropriate PPE, including lab coats, gloves, and closed-toe shoes to protect themselves from potential hazard. And second, equipment handling. Students should familiarize themselves with the proper handling and operation of lab equipment. This includes using instruments correctly, calibrating devices when necessary, and following any specific guidelines provided for each piece of equipment. And lastly, experimental protocol. Each experiment may have specific protocol that students need to follow. This includes step-by-step procedure, instruction of data, collection, recording, observation, and any special precaution or consideration for the particular experiment. So for this experiment, there are 4 belts made of different materials. In the first experiment, students use a hem rope. In the second experiment, students use a leather grey cast iron, hem grey cast iron, and rubber grey cast iron. So for experiment 1, the procedure is first place hem rope in the flat groove. And second, set F1 to 50 Newton by adjusting the pulley. And third, the pulley turns counterclockwise with constant speed. And fourth, change the arc of contact from 180 degree to 150 degree by adjusting the clamping lever and lowering down the pulley and slackening of the belt. And next, pull out the support at the locking pin and use the swivel tab holder to set the arc at 150 degree. And lastly, set the initial tension of F1 and turn counterclockwise the pulley. For the experiment 2, first, three different belts used for this experiment. Second, the round belt ham was placed in the flat groove. Third, the arc of contact set to 180 degree and the initial tension of F1 set to 50 Newton. Next, the pulley turned anti-clockwise. And lastly, the round belt ham changed to another type of belt, turning the pulley. The readings of F1 and F2 for each type of belt were not down. So the methodology employed during the lab friction session was systematic and effective in exploring and analyzing the concept of friction. Through a well-structured approach, the lab session followed a series of steps that allowed for a comprehensive understanding of frictional forces and their effects. The experimental setup and equipment used were appropriate and aligned with the objective of the session. The data collection process were meticulous, ensuring accurate measurement and observation. Then the analysis of the collected data was through, employing relevant mathematical calculation and graphical representation to interpret the result. Overall, the methodology employed in the lab friction session provided a solid foundation for learning and comprehensive of frictional forces, allowing for meaningful conclusion to be drawn.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Noor Akmal Afiq bin Muhammad. I'm going to discuss about the analysis and the result of the belt friction. There are three different types of belt friction, which is leather, ham, and rubber. In this experiment, we were asked to find the coefficient of friction for each belt. The formula for the coefficient of friction equal to mu equal to ln F1 over F2 over alpha in radian. As example, the COF for leather is 0.50 and rubber grey is 0.37. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Aiman bin Rosli and my matrix number is B0922100079. So in conclusion, the sliding coefficient of friction COE between belt and pulley are determined by the sliding coefficient for felt belt is 0.15, which is less than the sliding coefficient of the V belt, which is 0.37. There is two types of variable that are changed in this experiment, which is type of belt and arc of contact. Leather type of belt produce high COE, so it requires higher force to operate it, while ham type of belt is the best as it has lower coefficient of friction COE. For second one, arc of contact, higher angle produce higher coefficient of friction. So the best angle to operate is 30 degree as it has lowest coefficient of friction COE.